The Supreme Court has finally made an intervention on the crisis in Manipur. A CBI team with officers outside the state has been announced, as well as a panel of former High Court judges, an all-woman panel that will be traveling to the state. For more details, we're joined now by Senior Advocate Vrinda Grover, who is one of the senior lawyers in the Supreme Court today, fighting for justice and for intervention. Thank you, ma'am. Can you share more details of what all the court has decided?
Sure, but I think the order that we have got from the Supreme Court today is actually very reassuring. The petitioners, for instance, on whose behalf I claim, is a women's network, and there are very serious concerns of not only the crimes that have been committed on women, which include both murder and sexual violence, damage to property, burning of houses. We know that entire communities have had to flee from their homes and villages and are living in camps. And therefore, obviously, there was a lot of concern that was expressed in the petition. And there also seems to be a lot of anxiety, a little lack of faith and confidence, because as we know, from May onwards, now we are in August, the violence has actually not ceased. And every day we do see instances of violence that are reported. And so there is a basic safety security issue and a lack of confidence in the state administration. I think the Supreme Court has actually given an order which would instill confidence in the victims, and it has therefore set in layers of checks and balances, oversight and accountability, both with respect to the criminal investigation. Some cases are to be transferred between 12 and 16, that is, the final details are being worked out, which will be transferred to the CBI. However, even there, the Supreme Court has ensured that there are senior officers who the court will nominate, who will ensure that the CBI investigation is credible, impartial, and supervising all of it will be a very senior officer who will be giving a status report to the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of India. Alongside, given the kind of displacement and mistrust and other violations, simple things like a mother wanting to know how does she get back the body of her young son who was killed in Imphal, a body that is lying in a morgue in Imphal. There is no way she can go there. And so these are matters of great urgency and require a humane and humanitarian approach. The Supreme Court has therefore appointed a 3-member committee of former High Court judges. 2 of them are from the Delhi High Court, and of course Justice Gita Mittal, who will be leading the committee, retired as a former Chief Justice of Delhi High Court, who are known for their work on women's rights, for their understanding of gender, and therefore there will be an assurance that when we will hear the victims, there will be a comprehension of the various dimensions of the issue, as well as both look at relief, rehab, compensation, the wider gamut of issues, not just the violence-related matters.
Yeah.
And even here, the court has said that the committee will be giving a status report to the Supreme Court. And so, as I said, there are measures to ensure that there is an outreach to the people, as well as a measure to ensure that accountability and oversight remains of the Supreme Court.
Can I ask you to elaborate on whether you think there might be some time-bound intervention, in particular on bringing home the bodies of those who have been killed? And I ask you this because, we were on the ground in Manipur, and one of the things we saw again and again were very poor people, most of them from the farming community, unable to travel even the 1-hour distance to Imphal because they're tribals, they can't enter non-tribal areas, and vice versa is also true. And so, you have, I think you cited the car wash case where 2 women, the FIR actually says rape, they were tortured and killed. And I met parents of these women, and they said, no one has even made a phone call to us. We don't even know where to begin to get the bodies of our daughters back home.
I totally agree. And you are on the ground, so you are bringing to us information which is what is happening today with them. And today also I mentioned about a widowed mother who has learned that her 17-year-old son, who was on his first job at a petrol station in Imphal, was murdered in the early days of the violence, and the body is now lying in the morgue over there. She has no way of, she's in a camp. And what we were actually trying to tell the court, and the court appreciated it, that while the state is repeatedly saying, we have a nodal officer appointed, we have to understand that A, the violence is continuing, B, there is lack of safety for people to travel, 3, there are many people, as you said, who do not even have the resources to make that journey, and definitely not the safety and security to make that journey. And therefore, what is expected of the state at this stage is not simply, there is a nodal officer appointed, you can inform him. I think this is a moment when the state has to do an outreach. The state has to reach out. And let us acknowledge that for the moment there is a breach between communities. And therefore, appoint people who the families will have some confidence in approaching. To constantly keep saying, so-and-so is this, and don't divide. Let us grapple with the reality, which is tragic. And there is a breach. To appoint people in which people have hope and confidence. Let those people be there. Then people will come forward. The state, for instance, today repeatedly said, there is, there's all manner of infiltration, etc., etc. And I asked myself, who is responsible for ensuring that there is no infiltration on the border? Who is responsible for ensuring that the armories should not be looted? That's not the job of civil society. That's not the job of any victim. Why is the state not performing its job? The state is saying this is what is happening is terrible. Which citizen does not agree it's terrible? But the question has to be asked of the state. The state can't say, people are doing this. The state is armed to the teeth. Use the force when it is required to be used. Stop the infiltration at the border. There will be no objection. So those are matters that the state has to handle. That you cannot say that because all this is happening, therefore, we are right now not being able to provide justice, not being able to provide rehab, not providing relief. Those are not, the state cannot abdicate its duties. Its duties will remain regardless of the situation, and I think that is what the court has reiterated.
One final question. In the initial hearings, there was some demand for an SIT, a special investigative team, and not a CBI probe. Is that of some concern, or you think the fact that there will be officers from outside takes care of any possible fears of prejudice?
I think the Supreme Court's order, by putting in multiple layers of oversight, both the 5 officers that it said will be drawn from other states, as well as a very senior officer who will be doing overall supervision, for the moment gives one some faith and confidence. And we do know that the court has said that they will be presenting reports. And I think that may be also an efficient way of taking things forward. And since the state itself has suggested that it should be handed over to the CBI, and now there will be appointments, nominations made by the Supreme Court, we hope that the state will ensure that things move forward very quickly.
And is there a time-bound framework for all of this to happen?
No, I don't think there's any time-bound framework. I think what we are waiting to see in the detailed order that Chief Justice Kenya said they will be giving shortly is what are the, and the court indicated as much, that there will be a broad terms of reference of the committee of the 3 former women judges. And I think that's very important because they will be able to deal with a host of other issues which will impact everyone's lives on the ground, from medical needs to schools, to houses, to employment. After all, how will people, the whole point of reparative justice is that you have to restore me to the status that I was in So we cannot reduce reparative justice to 10 lakh compensation for the dead or 25,000 for us. The state has a responsibility to give reparative justice to all the victims.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Ms. Grover, for fighting for the victims and the survivors of the Manipur crisis. Thank you very much. And as you said, I think we're all awaiting the more detailed order, and we'll circle back to you with more questions, perhaps. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Barkha. Bye.
Thank you.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.